Your dog is up again at 3 in the morning, gnawing at the same spot on his leg until it's raw. And the spoon that finally quiets that isn't sitting on a pharmacy shelf. It's already in your kitchen. There's a simple bowl addition that changes the skin from the inside, starting tonight. And there's a piece of the popular fix for this that most owners believe and that just isn't true. I'll get to exactly which part of it holds up and which part doesn't. I'm a veterinarian. I've treated dogs for more than 20 years, and this is one of the most common things that walks into my clinic. While we go through this, tell me in the comments your dog's name and how old they are. It helps me picture exactly who we're talking about. If you've already tried a stronger shampoo, a different spray, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and your dog is still chewing at the same spot, that's not a sign you did something wrong. Most owners reach for the outside first because the itching and the fleas are what you can see. Trying the visible fix before the invisible one is the natural order most of us follow, not a mistake of a careless owner. I hear the same story every week in my clinic, a shelf full of tried products and a dog that's still uncomfortable, and it never means the owner didn't care enough. The fact that you're here now, looking past the shelf products for something that actually holds up, already tells me what kind of owner you are. Here's the myth worth breaking early. The belief that itching and fleas are fixed from the outside, with a stronger shampoo or a stronger spray. In my clinic, a large share of chronic itching turns out to be inflammation and a weak skin barrier working against your dog from the inside, something no amount of bathing repairs. Fleas are their own separate problem, needing their own separate answer. Once you see the itching as an inside job, the whole approach changes, and that's exactly where we're headed. It's also worth saying plainly that a lot of what sits on a pet store shelf is priced for the marketing behind it, not for what it actually does. A scented spray with a vague natural claim gets a full display and a bright label. A can of sardines gets none of that because there's no budget pushing it. That's not a conspiracy, just how shelf products get chosen. And it's part of why the simple fix rarely gets mentioned first. Picture your dog's skin as a raincoat. A healthy one sheds irritants the way a good raincoat sheds rain. A damaged one has holes in it and everything gets through. Pollen, dust, its own bacteria, all of it landing on skin that can't push back. That raincoat is called the skin barrier, the outer layer that's supposed to lock moisture in and keep irritants out. When it's weak, ordinary things start to sting and itch far more than they should. What follows is inflammation, the body's swelling, heat, and itch response. A little of it is normal, but constant inflammation is what wears the barrier down further, and the cycle feeds itself. This is the part most shampoos never touch because they work on the outside of a problem that's happening underneath. A shampoo can rinse away what's sitting on the surface for a day, but it can't hand the skin the material it needs to patch its own holes. That piece has to come from what the dog eats, not from what goes on the coat. Now, a dog scratching after a walk outside is completely normal. Dog scratch, that's not a red flag. What is different is a dog licking or chewing the exact same spot until the fur thins or the skin turns raw and pink. That's the barrier and the inflammation talking, and it's worth starting the bold changes we'll cover shortly and watching it closely from there. Owners often describe it as their dog getting fixated on one leg or one hip, going back to it again and again even after a bath or a trim. That repetition on a single spot is the detail that separates ordinary scratching from something the skin itself is asking for help with. There's also a smell worth knowing, a musty, almost corn chip scent rising off the paws or out of the skin folds, especially in damp weather. That's surface yeast, a normal organism on every dog's skin, overgrowing on top of a barrier that's already struggling. It's not dirt, and it's not something a bath alone clears for long. Before we go further, if this is the first thing here that's made real sense of what you're seeing on your own dog, I'd ask you to hit subscribe. No goals behind it, just a place to come back to. And a like helps this reach more owners dealing with the exact same 3 in the morning scratching. That's really the only reason to ask. 2 more signs worth knowing. Small black flecks in the coat that turn reddish brown when you press them onto a damp paper towel are flea dirt. That confirms live fleas are present right now, not maybe, and it calls for a real preventive alongside anything we put in the bowl. That little test takes less than a minute, and it's the clearest way to know, rather than guess, what you're actually dealing with. And restlessness at night, scratching that wakes your dog or wakes you, means the itch has crossed over from occasional into constant. If that doesn't ease within a couple of weeks of what we're about to cover, that's the point to loop in your vet, not a sign that anything so far has failed. Left alone, this rarely stays small. What looks like a minor itch tonight is, more often than not, the early edge of something that gets harder to reverse the longer it sits. And the same is true of a handful of fleas today versus a full infestation in a few weeks. Mild dryness and the occasional itch, given enough time, becomes constant scratching and raw, broken skin. And broken skin invites a secondary yeast or bacterial infection that needs actual medication, not a spoon in the bowl. On the flea side, an unmanaged infestation doesn't stay contained to a few bugs. It breathes through the coat and the home, and in heavy cases, it drains enough blood to cause anemia, especially in small or young dogs. What starts as one dog scratching in the yard can, within a few weeks, become fleas living in the carpet, the couch, and every soft surface in the house, which is a much bigger job to undo than it was to prevent. Neither of these has to happen. Both are avoidable with early, steady care, which is exactly what we're building toward. I think of Bella here, a 5-year-old mixed breed who came into my clinic with raw patches behind both ears, a sharp corn chip smell, and visible flea dirt in her coat. Her owner had already tried 3 different shampoos with no real change and had started to wonder if Bella was just going to be an itchy dog for life. We added sardines to her food every day and started her on a real, vet-approved flea preventive that same week. Nothing complicated, no expensive prescription diet. Within a month, her ears had calmed down, the smell was gone, and her owner told me she'd finally stopped waking up to the sound of her scratching at night. Bella still gets her spoon of sardines most nights, and she hasn't needed anything stronger since. So here's the actual bowl fix, the part you can start tonight, the same one I've watched settle a dog's skin in my clinic more times than I can count. 2 additions, each doing a different job, and one honest warning about the piece that doesn't hold up the way the internet says it does. The core addition is a fish-based omega-3, either canned sardines packed in water, no salt added, no sauce, or a fish oil made for dogs. It supplies EPA and DHA, 2 fatty acids your dog's body uses to calm inflammation and rebuild that skin barrier from the inside. The same shingles on a roof idea. Fish oil hands the skin the material it needs to patch itself, a little at a time. For a small dog under 20 pounds, a quarter of a small sardine or roughly 300 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA. For a medium dog, 20 to 50 pounds, half a sardine or about 500 to 700 milligrams. For a large dog over 50 pounds, 1 small sardine or close to 1,000 milligrams. Once a day mixed into the regular food, right in with the kibble so there's nothing extra to remember. If you're using a fish oil made for dogs instead of sardines, follow the milligram amounts above and check the label, since concentrations vary quite a bit between brands. Most owners notice calmer, less flaky skin within 3 to 6 weeks. Skin rebuilds slowly, never overnight, and any product promising an instant fix isn't being honest with you. What I actually see in the exam room by that point is a dog that stopped worrying at the same spot and started settling into a nap instead, which tells you more than any label ever could. The second addition is coconut oil, used sparingly. A thin smear rubbed directly onto dry or cracked paw pads works well on its own, or 1/8 of a teaspoon per 10 pounds mixed into food, no more than a few times a week. Think of it as a light jacket, not a raincoat. A thin layer helps a dry patch, but too much becomes a heavy coat worn indoors, and the result is loose stool instead of relief. Used the right way, it's a small, steady comfort layered on top of the omega-3 doing the deeper work. It's not a substitute for the fish oil, and it never needs to be. The two solve slightly different pieces of the same problem, one working from inside the body, the other soothing what's already on the surface. Now here's the part most videos in this space won't tell you straight, the part I opened with. The one piece of this popular fix that matters far less than owners are led to believe, no matter how many times it gets repeated online. Brewer's yeast and a splash of apple cider vinegar in the water bowl are what gets recommended constantly for fleas. And I understand the appeal, cheap, natural, already in most kitchens. But the honest answer is that neither one reliably repels fleas. Any effect people notice is likely just the smell reaching the skin, the same way keeping house guests out with perfume does nothing about the guests already living in your house. And fleas are already living in the carpet in the yard, not just riding on your dog. Apple cider vinegar can also sting skin that's already inflamed, so it should never go on raw or broken patches. And 2 things stay off the table entirely: regardless of what you read elsewhere. No garlic in any form, and no essential oils on the skin or in the bowl. Both carry real toxicity risks for dogs. Garlic can damage a dog's red blood cells over time, and concentrated essential oils are toxic in amounts far smaller than most owners assume. What actually handles fleas is a vet-approved monthly preventive. The bowl work supports the skin around it. It doesn't replace it. And no bowl addition, however good, was ever meant to. If you ever see pale gums, unusual tiredness, patchy hair loss, or weight loss while your dog is still eating normally, that's worth a same-week vet visit, since those can point to anemia or an infection that needs more than food changes. So to bring it together, sardines or fish oil for the skin, a light touch of coconut oil for the drier spots, and a real flea preventive doing the job that yeast and vinegar can't. Don't add all of it on the same day. A dog's stomach handles one new thing at a time far better than 3 at once, and starting everything together makes it hard to know which change is actually helping. Start with the omega-3 alone for the first week or two, then layer in the coconut oil a few times a week, and keep the brewer's yeast or vinegar as an occasional extra at most, never a daily habit. Owners often notice something else too. The same support that calms the skin tends to settle the stomach and add some shine to the coat, since skin and gut lean on each other more than people expect. A dog that's more comfortable in his own skin also tends to sleep deeper and act, in general, a little more like himself. If you'd like this channel to keep bringing you fixes like this one, subscribing costs nothing, and the like genuinely helps more owners find their way to it, instead of another shelf spray that doesn't work. Tell me below, is your dog dealing with the itching, the fleas, or both right now? I'd like to know which one to help you with next. For tonight, that's 1 spoon in the bowl and a hand resting quietly on a dog who, for the first time in a while, isn't scratching.